let me just ask a quick question. You guys can just answer by a show of hands. Don't try to take this too far out of context. How many of you would legitimately be afraid if a small boy, aged like, I don't know, 8 to 9, was just running at you aggressively? Like, how many of you would be afraid for your life? Want an honest answer? One person? Okay, one person. Now, how many of you would be afraid if, full-grown man, 6'1", 250 pounds, was running at you in an aggressive manner, looked like he was trying to do you harm? How many, a little more people would be afraid? Yeah, a little more? Okay. So, a lot of people in third world countries, such as, what is it, Momzakwe? Yeah, Momzakwe and Angola. These are two of the most prevalent third world countries that have child soldiers, which is what I'll be talking about today. Many full-grown men, even elderly people walking down the street, can't even go out, can't even leave their homes, walk down the street without fearing that an 8-year-old kid is going to come and kill them, running after them, brandishing AK-47s or any other assault weapon that the local guerrilla groups or the local rebel groups, even the government groups, are providing them. Does anybody know, off the top of their heads, anybody have an idea of how many child soldiers are active in today's society right now?
500,000.
500,000? It's actually about 300,000 right now. Does anybody know how many people or how many child soldier deaths there are each year? No? Okay, so in the past 10 years, there have been over 2 million child soldier deaths. That's 200,000 every year. That's 550 a day. Kids just dying for no cause that they want to fight for. Most of these kids are abducted from their homes. Some of them even join up willingly because of poverty, because they're starvation. They're fed when they're soldiers. They don't have anybody else. They're homeless. They're poor. They're just out in the streets. But the ones that are abducted, in order to have them conform and to have them obey and listen to what they're supposed to do and do what they're supposed to do, a lot of the times they'll be given drugs. They'll be forcibly given drugs such as like heroin or any other strong, heavy drugs. They can just easily manipulate somebody and completely take over what their own thinking is and just tell them what to do, bark orders at them, and they will do it. Most of these children do not come down from a high in months. They'll just be kept high. They'll fall asleep, they'll wake up, they'll be injected with more heroin. They will just completely, constantly be high. These children, 8 or 9 years old, are willing to go out, kill full-grown men, rape women, burn villages, and these kids are, knee-high, half of our age, even younger, and they've seen more and done more than any of us will in our lifetimes. They've seen more battles, more wars than many war veterans, maybe even some of our grandparents who have served in World War II or the Vietnam War. These kids may have been able to do more. Just because, why choose kids? Does anybody know why they would choose kids? No?
Because they listen.
Yeah, they're just easy. They're easy to manipulate. They're easy to control. Kids, they'll do anything really for acceptance, especially if they don't have anybody, if they don't have parents, if they don't have, somebody to show them like, hey, this is how you should live your life, this is how you treat another human being, and if they don't have any kind of structure like that, they're going to learn it somewhere. They're going to go out and they're going to learn it somewhere. So a lot of people think that children are really only recruited by like guerrilla groups or rebel groups that are fighting against the government, but it's actually shown more prevalence in the government. Like the governments of certain countries, a lot of smaller African countries, they actually will recruit children because they don't pay them, they don't get any benefits, and they're just martyrs. A lot of children that come in, depending on the age, if they're like closer to the age of 10 or 11, they'll be like cooks, or they'll clean, or they'll do maintenance work, things like that. But younger kids, smaller kids, 6, 7, 8, a lot of the times they are used as suicide bombers. And, they don't know any better, they don't know what they're doing. They'll drug them up and tell them, hey, go over there. And they'll strap them up and just blow them up without a second thought about it. They don't, they won't care. And yeah, so most of these kids, like I said, have zero say in anything that happens to them. In a certain case, a young boy named Marula, I actually was just finished reading a book about child soldiers, and a young boy named Marula was abducted with his father and his young sister from one of the villages they were living in. They were just bouncing from village to village. And during the night in one of these camps that they were held captive in, right before they were all about to be separated, the father to go probably just be sentenced to death or labor, the son, Marala, who was just going to go, be a soldier, and the daughter, who was probably going to become a sex slave to many of the higher class, like the generals and the lieutenants. They tried escaping one night, and they all met up. And when they were caught, because they were caught, they forced the boy to kill his father and his sister. He did it, and after that, changed forever. He went on a spree of just killing, running factions for the next 7 years until he was finally able to come down from it and flee the countries that were dictating him so heavily. So that's just one of the many examples that show why child soldiers is a huge issue in today's world, and I hope I was able to further your knowledge on that fact. So.